There you go. Okay, so today Bobby's going to share with us the topic that you saw on the WhatsApp yesterday, which I posted, which was, why is network marketing different to any other type of marketing that we have? So Bobby also comes with a very impressive CV. He's a pharmacist by training, and at the moment he's also a triathlete, and he's been a founding member of this park run, which I actually read a book by this guy Hewitt who actually started. He was here in South Africa and he went to Britain, and he landed up with an injury for 2 years, and then he started this whole park run. Anyway, so Bob, you can go.
Okay, let me see if I can just get to share my screen, and then we can get going with
There you go.
great stuff. Okay, so let's see if we can get it up. And right. Good stuff. Can you see the screen all right?
Yep, thanks.
Great stuff. Okay. Basically, today we're looking, and I think it's a really important part of what we do from an Neolife perspective, is looking at the quality and the why Neolife stands apart from so many other products. And as a pharmacist, to say, I can attest to that, knowing very much what goes into other products and how they produce them, and why what we call, and you'll see along as we chat a little bit, we talk about food state, and so much of what Neolife is in actual fact based on, and the whole evidence background to the thing. So Neolife, we need to, and for me, one of the most important things is to build this absolute belief in product quality, safety, and efficacy. Because again, as a pharmacist, it's one of the most important things for me. I need to have evidence. I need to know that what I am suggesting to people is in actual fact, I have confidence to be able to do that, that I can actually recommend the product knowing that it's safe and it will in fact work. So Neolife has this commitment to whole food. We talk about, as I mentioned, the food state, whole food, science-backed nutrition. And it also looks going back to the cellular level, and you'll understand. And just think again about a fair amount of what we've learned and been told about TreeNN, where the cellular level, and I'll give a bit of example and explanation of that as we go along. We need to build belief in in our product's quality, safety, and efficacy. And this is what bridges the gap between nutrition and actually being optimally well. And I think, it's so important to, to understand that and what difference that actually does make. I did a comparison a little while ago. I decided to take many of the products that we have in South Africa available here, and I did a complete deep dive into it to actually look at, how closely any of the other products come to us in terms of, are they quality products? Are they in actual fact produced in the correct way? What else do they have that's added into the product? And let me tell you, Neolife stands head and shoulders above the rest, simply because of the way that it's produced in terms of GMP, which for us as pharmacists also the good manufacturing practice, which is so important, and also just in terms of how bioavailable the product is, and we'll mention a little bit more about that as we go through. So, why does supplementation matter today? Why do we actually need to do this? And so much of it goes back to the way that food is produced, and also our lifestyles, which compromise and reduce the nutrient density of the food that we are getting. So effectively, we're generally not getting what we need or all that we need from the food, and also because of our lifestyles, the stressful lifestyles that we have. And so much of our food is in actual fact processed. And we'll look at some figures a little bit later relating to that. But 40% of nutrients are actually lost during the food storage and transportation process. And 73% of adults consume this processed foods. And the reason that, they process foods is, first of all, it's to make it cheaper And secondly, it's to have a long shelf life. So generally, if you find something that has an incredibly long shelf life, you know it's processed or ultra processed, and you know then that they're going to have to add things back in or try and add things back in to actually put the nutrients back in that they took out. And the problem with that, as I said, we spoke about food state and making bioavailable. Once you start doing that, you lose all of those other excipients which Neolife retains. So we have food that today which is calorie rich but very nutrient poor. And obviously the way that our food is produced is what strips so much of that, of the nutrients that we need away from the food. And that's where one of the big nutrient gaps come in. 90% of essential nutrients are actually missing from so many of the foods that we eat. And 60% of adults are actually eating, and I think that's pretty much higher actually, processed foods on a daily basis. You go into a supermarket and you find there's a health section, and that's often where the more natural products are. The rest of the stuff is pretty much in boxes and got very long labels. And that's just indicating to you how processed our food is today. Let's get rid of that. And because in the past you would have a situation where you go into a food store and the majority of the food was in actual fact, well, it should all be healthy. You shouldn't have to go to a health section within a supermarket to get healthy food. Neolife's whole food philosophy, and this is what is the basis of so much of what Neolife does and why it is so valuable and so important. I mentioned the food states and whole food, and they look at Neolife at nature-based nutrition, and that's every product delivers nutrients in their most bioavailable form, so we can absorb them. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have with so many pharmaceuticals, is that pharmaceuticals, in a very large perspective, are in fact chemically created or chemically produced products, and they forget about all the other things that are in the plant, all the other things that are there which make the food available for your body to recognize and to absorb. And that's what we talk about, this whole food. It's nutrition from nature. It's the way we should be eating it. And food state is so important because that's what determines your body's ability to actually take it up into your system, and then obviously to be able to utilize it. And then we have the whole thing about cellular nutrition, which we've spoken a little bit about, and that relates obviously to the product getting to the cells where it's most important. And I think if you also just look at it from the perspective that all of our cells have these little things called mitochondria in. And again, going back to the example of TRNN, why TRNN is so valuable, because that's what gives you the energy to do everything else that you need to do, the digestion that you need to do, the exercise that you need to do, the movement that you need, the thinking, that the building of your body, all goes back to that cellular health and the valuable. Why our products are in fact so valuable is because it actually ensures that we maintain healthy, strong cells that can give the rest of our body energy, and that we have healthy mitochondria. Because as we've discovered with a lot of research, is that so much of the problem that comes along with aging, with the illness, with everything, actually goes back to the fact that we've compromised how effective our mitochondria, which are what's giving us the energy and the wellness to be able to do and to live a healthy life. Your body's made up of, as I say, these trillions of cells, and each one requires precise nutrients. This is the cellular nutrition, and that's the foundation of true wellness. And you've heard the thing is that cells require the right nutrients to function optimally. Healthy cells support tissues, organs, and it's pretty much what I've just said, is that, that is the foundation of where our long-term wellness comes from, and also the vitality is, because if you don't have properly functioning cells and mitochondria, the rest is incredibly difficult to maintain. And we need that precise nutrient delivery, and that's what Neolife actually gives us at the end of the day. So we need to make sure that our cellular health is good, which produces the energy, the repair of damage. It supports the immunity, and it's a cellular foundation that determines the health of every single tissue, organ, and system in our body. And that's why it matters so much and why Neolife's products are so important. How do they maintain this? And they maintain a lot of this through the scientific leadership, through the scientific advisory board, where they've got world-renowned experts who work on that board, looking at the product, developing the product, checking that things are, in actual fact, done correctly. And it's all evidence-based. So it's not, we're not guessing like so much of what happens with a lot of the foods that we get. And, if you have a look at a lot of the bodies around the world that control our medicine and supplements, etc., and even the food, is they look at the food and so on, is it's generally acceptable. They haven't actually done the science on a lot of these products. It's only now that a lot of that's beginning to be done, where they're seeing how nutrient deficient so much of the food that we are given and that is produced on the market actually is. So Neolife comes with like 60 years plus of research where, the world class experts have looked at the stuff. They've ensured that the formulation is in actual fact beneficial. It's done in such a way that they know they can prove that in actual fact works. And that's the difference also with so much of what Neolife does, is that it's not anecdotal. So much of the stuff when we see the evidence, when we're using it, is anecdotal. But if we go back, they've done studies and so on to make sure, and they do continuous research to make sure that these products are as good as we say they are. We are obviously in 50 plus countries around the world, and it's been around for an incredibly long time. 100% SAB approval, which is the scientific advisory board, and that ensures and guarantees that every product meets the highest standards for safety and efficacy. And that in 1976, the scientific advisory board was founded by Dr. Arthur First, one of our founders, who brings decades of scientific expertise to Neolife. So it's a product we can trust. Is I think the most important message to take away from all of that. It's a foundation of excellence. And that's one of the reasons, you say a little while ago, found out, I've been with Neolife for over 25 years, and it comes from a background of initially just wanting to use the product, and where I started many years ago looking at this food state thing, because there are some products on the market that are food state. But again, as I say, I did that comparison, and I can't see others that have the, all the pillars in place that Neolife has, which gives me absolute confidence in being able to promote the Neolife products. And Neolife basically believes that nature provides the perfect blueprint. We have food which grows in this way. So, the most powerful way that we can make sure that we get the supplementation we need is by using it pretty much in its original form. Everything is scientifically backed, and there's complete ingredient traceability, and that it's so important that as well, because they can literally go back to the farm where this food was grown on and have a look at where it comes from, how it was grown, what was put onto the food or not, or rather onto the plant or not put onto the plant. So they can absolutely, trace it back to every sort of farm that it came from, to the finished supplement, that they know they're providing a product of the highest standards and quality as well as purity. And we'll also speak a little bit about that as well, how important it is that our products are free from all of these chemicals that we get on so much of our other food, which then carries right through to, and as I say, just simple thing of the glyphosate. In fact, not the majority, it's pretty much proven that most people today have some or other traces of the glyphosate in their systems from a pesticide that's being used on the product, not only to prevent the pests, but also they use it in the drying process. So, it's something we know that we're not going to get from Neolife products. I've mentioned a bit about the TreeNN and the advantage. The world's first whole grain lipid sterols supplement. And TreeNN restores the cell membrane flexibility for optimal nutrient absorption and waste elimination. And it's sourced from wheat, rice, and soy, but it again supports the whole bioavailability. And as I mentioned earlier, the functioning and the proper functioning of our mitochondria, which is the energy of life. So it's been around since 1958. It was the world's first phytonutrient supplement pioneering this issue of cellular nutrition, and it's been around now for over 6 decades. And as we've said, what it really does enhances this absorption and the cellular energy through restored membrane flexibility. So it restores the membrane the integrity of the membrane so that food can be absorbed and toxins can be cleared out of the system, which is so important because that often is one of the biggest problems that we have is we're not absorbing food and we're retaining and building toxins in our system, which causes a problem for us. So this whole thing of absorption and bioefficiency is that, TreeNN significantly enhances how your body absorbs and utilizes its nutrients at a cellular level. And that's what maximizes the nutrition that you then take, because it makes sure your body's in a place to be able to absorb the foods and nutrients in a far better way. It improves like 85% nutrient absorption rate, and it restores that membrane flexibility so that our cells are working as they should, taking in the nutrition, getting rid of the waste, and it also then enhances cellular energy, and that relates to the mitochondria, as I've said on numerous occasions, which is just, we don't understand, I think, again, how if the mitochondria become damaged or compromised, so many other things that our bodies are meant to do cannot be done effectively. Neolife is basically a nature-based formulation. And again, as I said, we look at the whole thing of the whole food nutrition, sourcing ingredients from the human food chain. And that's, again, what goes to making sure that it's safe and it's biologically compatible. So our bodies can recognize it, they can absorb it. It's not something foreign that comes in that they don't know how to deal with. So it's whole food sourced. 95% of the product is, and again, we have about 5% of the product, which is what we call technical excipients. And that really refers to, you have things like the outer capsules, and even those they try and use in the majority what is plant-based and safer for us, instead of just making a chemically derived product, which is not going to help us. So 95% of our products are whole food sourced, and there is a small amount, but a very small amount of technical excipients. And as I say again, they look at that, at making sure that it is as close to natural as possible. So everything that they source comes from nature. They do not artificially produce stuff in a laboratory and then try and produce a product. So what's the competitive edge if we look at Neolife versus conventional brands? And if we look at Neolife products, they have human clinical studies which prove that these things work and there's evidence base for it. Whereas conventional products, there's animal testing or yeast or based testing. So it's done in a artificial environment again, which may not convert directly over to it being useful in the human situation. With Neolife, whole food, human food chain sourcing, so we know exactly where it comes from. Conventional products, as I've said, it's synthetic isolates, or they've manufactured in a laboratory. And I remember when we did our training as pharmacists, we were meant to make a drug from start to finish. And we there actually had to produce the ingredients that we were going to use in the laboratory. So we scientifically formulated these ingredients like aspirin and vitamin C. We did both of them. And, it again, doesn't have the things that it needs to make it properly bioavailable. It's also Neolife is pharmaceutical grade, GMP standard, whereas food comes as food grade manufacturing. So it's pretty much compromised. And then, as I say, with Neolife, we have have products that work at the cellular level, where the others basically go through our system and very often aren't able to be utilized correctly. Neolife's manufacturing excellence. Neolife also manufactures to the highest GMP levels. As I say, we've spoken about the batch consistency, where every batch meets identical specifications for potency. So we know that the product is in actual fact pure and will be effective. The GMP standards are certified. So it's pharmaceutical grade, not just food grade. It's of the best quality that we can get. They use somewhere in the region of 500 plus quality tests to ensure that products are in fact safe and will work. And the other thing, as I said, we mentioned this thing about contaminant tolerance. There's a zero tolerance for that. So we don't have things like heavy metals, pesticides, and other impurities in our product. It's a product that we can absolutely trust, and we know that it is of the highest quality. All of the formulas are evidence-based, research-driven product design. So they have checked everything out. They've made sure they don't just put things together because it sort of works. They make sure that what they put together actually does work at the end of the day. They're continuously looking at refining formulas, and that we get measurable health outcomes. And there's full ingredient transparency. So that whole thing, again, as I say, everything is traceable. We know where it comes from. We know how it's produced, and we can be completely satisfied that we can promote the product with absolute confidence. So lifestyle challenges increase our nutritional, and just in summary, I guess, is that those are one of the big things that increase our nutritional needs, and why we, in fact, have to supplement at the end of the day. One of the things I've always said is, we can't supplement ourselves to health, but what we can do is we can add the nutrition and add the extra supplements through the products that we have at Neolife to be able to produce a better health outcome at the end of the day. The things that produce in terms of our lifestyle is the stress and poor sleep. Very often we are either sedentary, we don't do exercise, or we over-exercise. And then, of course, the environmental toxins and aging, again, compromise or produce the nutritional needs that we have. A lot of the medicines that we have and digestive problems that we have also challenge our ability to absorb the food correctly. So we've gone through, I think, with the legacy of innovation. Neolife has been around for a very long time. They've, going back, 60 odd years, we've had over 6 decades of pioneering, food nutrition science, and it's consistently led the industry in research-driven innovation. Today, Neolife is, as I have indicated, comes out as a global leader in whole food nutrition, operating in over 50 countries, and a product that we can absolutely, absolutely trust at the end of the day. And this is where building absolute belief comes in. When you understand the science behind Neolife, you gain the confidence, you share the health. We have 60 plus years of trust in nutrition. It bridges the gap from, we're not just selling vitamins, we're actually bridging the nutrition gap for healthier lives for people. And sharing that, I think, and that confidence that we have in our product is what, at the end of the day, makes Neolife stand out from everything else. The commitment that Neolife has to quality, safety, and efficacy has earned the trust of health-conscious families for over 6 decades, and something that we can absolutely rely on. There's all these years of experience. It's operating in 50 or more countries, in summary, and then also the transparency. We know absolutely what we are taking. It's no guessing. And we've also, I said, 95% of what is in every single product is in fact naturally derived. The other really important thing about Neolife is that the cost effectiveness actually comes in the fact that it actually works. So unlike other things that you may be taking, which you may not absorb everything correctly or enough, and that's why Neolife is so valuable. We look at the whole thing. We're using whole food-based nutrients. We're not using synthetics. We are ensuring that it's science-based. It's not quick fix solutions. It's simple. It's not symptom-focused treatment. It's long-term overall holistic health that we are providing. And where we can, again, guarantee the standards, the purity, and the consistency of our product, where so many other products are unable to do that. So we have a product that we can absolutely trust, we can give out there with confidence. And that's what, again, as I say, makes Neolife stand out from others. So what are the next steps? As I say, we need to continue building this Neolife journey that we have. And if you'd like to join us next week, we're going to be looking at a business solution where we continue through the months of also looking at deepening product knowledge, building confidence to share health. And, we encourage you always to connect more with your sponsor, connect with other people in the group whom you can also learn from. That's it, Rob. Thank you very much.
There we it helps if I put my sound on. Thank you, Bob. That was great.
Okay.
Lovely presentation. And for me, it's really, this particular video is certainly something that we can share with anybody who would be interested. And I think it clearly puts a message across about where Neolife is in the marketplace and what are the offerings that we have that we can share with other people. So thank you very much. Okay, so it's open to the floor here. There, what actually, Bjorn actually sent a message. He actually sent an incredible presentation.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Bjorn, I thought we'd at least hear your voice. I was just interested in the people here. Who's the person who's Samsung? I just see you as Samsung.
I don't know who the Samsung is, but I'm hoping it's one of my distributors.
Yeah, I was just hoping they'd be brave enough to unmute themselves and tell us who they are. Anyway, Samsung, whoever you are, whoever invited you, please share with them and tell them what you thought of this presentation. And Susan, sorry I was a bit slow in letting you in there, but I hope you enjoyed the presentation. You'd have to unmute because I muted you, Susan. Okay. Yeah, she's not talking to her either. Right. Anybody else want to say anything?
There we go. Susan's just unmuted.
My battery went flat. That's why I'm so late. So sorry about that. But it was very interesting, very knowledgeable. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Nobody have any questions? There's nothing that you want to ask or that you're unsure of? Or...
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I think Bobby covered everything. Son of a good teacher, no questions.
Good. Let's say along the line as well, if there are things that you guys come across or think that you'd like specifically looked at, you must feel free to please make suggestions. We're very happy to find if there are things that you need more information on, or there's a topic that you've come across or some questions that you have, please ask. And as I say, if I am able to, I definitely will jump in, and I'm happy to do a presentation on things like that. Okay.
So for me, this week I got a message from a guy who I brought bee equipment from. And he sent me a photograph of some mildew that was on his counter, which he cleaned, but he couldn't get rid of it. So he said, do you have a product for this? Because I shared some product with some people in the bee group. So I said, sure. And I went along there early in the morning, and it was quite amazing. Super tense. Splash, splash, splash. Hopefully, if he uses it, he'll have a really, really clean B room, unlike me, which I always have a temporary space. He has a permanent space, but he runs about 100 hives. But yeah, it was quite magic. I mean, you're confident in those cleaning products.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy your day. And I hope it gets warmer as the day goes on either.
Thanks
Thanks,
very much.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
Okay,
Cheers.
bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.